This evening lecturer is Dr. Lynn Ludwig, and just a quick background on Lynn. Quick is hard because I have a 10-page resume here, but I'm not going to read it all. She has a PhD in English from Southern Illinois University, an MA, and correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, an MA in English from New Mexico State University, and a BA in English, University of New Mexico. So she hasn't branched out. She's stayed in English, but a whole bunch of different areas of English, technical writing, rhetoric, and a whole bunch of other things. She's currently an assistant professor in our Department of English at UWSP. She has been an assistant professor at St. Cloud State University, in that other state over there. And wanted to mention a couple of other things. She's sort of had many different careers, lots of visiting professorships and that kind of thing. I wanted to also mention that she's had a sort of second career as a technical writer, a variety of other things. She was and I'll just try to read some of these out. She worked with IBM Corporation for a while I want to get this right. You telecommuted from home from October 2002 to July 2005. Telecommuted. This was a long time ago. That was a decade ago. So to telecommute a decade ago, it's pretty impressive.
From the Florida Keys.
From the Keys. And so I wanted to wait, but she stole mine. I was going to make fun of that, but anyway. She's also been an instructional designer and a project lead, communications and change and integration supervisor, and a senior instructional systems designer. Also, just a little tidbit about the Keys thing. When she isn't teaching, researching, and serving on various department committees, university committees, community services, etc., she enjoys traveling with her husband, most recently a week snorkeling and kayaking in the lower Florida Keys. So that was during our spring break. I'm trying to think of what was going on here. It seems to me it was cold, snow in the air.
It was beautiful there.
Oh, I'm sure it was. Anyway, so it's my pleasure to introduce Lynn and her diversified background. She's going to talk tonight about Life Story Legacies, the Life Story Legacies project, uniting UWSP students with community elders. Please help me welcome Dr. Lynn Ludwig.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you all very much for coming out tonight. It's a beautiful night, and I know that you probably have a lot of other things to be doing than sitting in this room right now. But I'm thrilled to see this turn out and welcome all of you. I also want to point out that we have a number of people here that have been directly involved with the stories. I have 2 students here, as well as one of the subjects of a life story, as well as family members and friends as well. So we have a nice combination of people that have been directly involved, as well as those of you that are interested in the stories as well. I'm going to start with a rather short presentation. I hope to keep it short. And then I would like to turn it over, if we have time, to my 2 students that are here to read excerpts, including the daughter of one of our life story subjects. So I'm hoping to squeeze all of this in so that we can hear from a number of people in terms of what the stories are about. In addition to that, I've put on the table over here quite a few different examples of life stories that we have finished. Some are from St. Cloud State University, the others are from UW Stevens Point here. Thank you. And I also have business cards there for you to pick up if you are interested in contacting me personally or directly instead of within this larger environment about the Life Story Project or any interest that you might have. So as you're leaving here, probably this evening would be the best time then to pick up one of those cards if you're interested. So on the screen here, to begin, I would just like to take a moment and mention that I've decided to dedicate this presentation to 3 wonderful people that we have lost. Wilton Earl Chapin, who has passed away, Pamela Kelleher, and Susan Ballman. Wilton and Pam were both subjects of life stories. Jenna Halke wrote the life story of Wilton, and unfortunately she is not here tonight. She's very ill. And Lauren Gilchrist wrote the story of Pam, and Lauren just got a new job, and she's in Tennessee right now on her first trip for work. So I'm thrilled for her and yet miss that she's not able to come. Susan Ballman, I don't know if anyone knows Susan, was a social director and director of admissions and my coordinator at Harmony Residential Center. And we lost her in 2013. And her loss is tremendous. I felt it especially hard, and it was very difficult for me because she truly has been one of the loudest champions of the Life Story Legacy project. And so I miss her every day. But we do work directly with Tammy Page there, and she's done an outstanding job of picking up the torch and carrying us forward. So all three of these people have been a tremendous contribution to the legacy of our Life Story project, and I just wanted to pause and acknowledge them. One of the first things that I think about when I'm trying to figure out what I can do to help our students benefit, possibly, and I always try directly, with some sort of experiential and direct project of writing. Now, this is outside of the realm of technical communication and business communication that I have my actual core courses in, but at the same time, it allows students to bring a number of different tasks and skills together to create the Life Story project. So I've put together a few of these benefits that students connect obviously with community members and build friendships that last a lifetime all through the act of writing. I have people contact me to find out where my students are, the sons and daughters of different individuals, or the activity directors have tried to contact me to find out where the students are and how they're doing. So I know that they're still thinking about the student long after the life story's been published. I also have two quotes here that I found just extremely useful. Research shows that family history writing or reminiscing improves self-esteem, enhances feelings of control and mastery over life, and often results in a new or expanded vision of one's life. And I have heard from both students and seniors alike that this is exactly the kind of feeling that they get after they have been working for a few weeks on their life stories. My other quote up here says, for very advanced age clients, the chance to tell their stories improves cognition, lessens depression and dementia, and improves behavioral functioning. So I think that last quote right there makes this worthwhile for all of us involved. And that is a major reason why I hope to continue it and build this project even further in the community. My husband and I visited the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center in Washburn, North Dakota, and I found an area about an exhibit and an area dedicated to the exhibit of the Native American storyteller, and immediately had him take pictures of me in this area because to me it stood for the Life Story Legacy project. And when I read this Eastman quote, almost every evening a myth or a true story of some deed done in the past was narrated by one of the parents or grandparents while the boy listened with parted lips and glistening eyes. I think of my students, and I'm looking at them right now, because of the change that happens when the students start getting more and more involved and engaged with the seniors, and they start learning more about each other and sharing with each other. It's a two-way street, and there's respect on both sides that goes on. And it takes us back to the yesteryear, if you will, of passing along our heritage, our legacy, our family stories through oral transmission of the story. And that's what we're doing in the life stories in the facilities today. Here we have Ashley with Ray and Ray's brother and sister visiting at a luncheon. Socializing builds listening skills. It's very important to have other opportunities, if it's at all possible, for the students to interact, not only with the focus of the Life Story project, but with any friends or siblings or grandchildren or relatives to get another important perspective on their elder. And Ashley, who's here tonight, and hopefully we'll be able to read a bit of an excerpt from Ray's life story, was able to do that while visiting at Harmony. I published a journal article in 2009 in the Minnesota English Journal. And in that, I was required to define the goals. I found that that was more challenging than I thought it would be, but the editor needed it to be very straightforward. So I thought this might be helpful in a presentation so everybody understands where I am coming from and the benefit of the actual procedures within the life story that I think the students and the elders receive. Obviously, they reach across and between what might appear to be borders, especially since so many of the elders that we work with live in residential communities or healthcare centers, and they're not out and about in the community per se. So the students are asked to go into these environments that many times they've never even encountered before, or most certainly they haven't interacted regularly with anyone in that type of facility. That was very important to me. Allow the college students to enter the world of the elderly. And that is an education in and of itself. Being a college student, it's a very exciting time where you never slow down or stop and think about things that are most important to you sometimes. And the elders bring that to them, a place where they can go to stop and rest and think and share. And it's a wonderful gift. It extends the footprint of the student writing beyond the classroom. Again, this ties to actually now at UWSP in our general education program, we do have an experiential learning requirement. It can be an activity or an actual class that has the students participating in any different type of community project. You will also hear the language, or if I refer to service learning, that's another term for it. But basically, you're getting the student outside of the classroom, off campus, off that campus boundary, and into a community setting where the elders reside. Or it could be any other type of community environment where we go in and have them do something to support that environment. So I'm always in favor of extending that footprint. And then it gives the opportunity for both the elder and the student to learn about what it means to participate in a service learning project. And that, again, is a two-way street. It works for both. There are numerous ethical considerations that I've learned over the years are very important for the success of this. I have a few rules, if you will, listed up there to obey family wishes and facility rules, ask for permission to use the tape recorder, respect the elder's privacy, confidences, and sensitive issues. Don't make promises you can't keep. I'm going to come back to that one. And share all materials that will be published with your elder. It wasn't here. It was at St. Cloud State University where I started this project in 2008. I was teaching an advanced writing course there, and it was really the first time I had been involved in service learning projects, and I always like to just jump right in. So I was managing 4 different service learning projects at the same time, all of them different from the Life Story project. This was only one of the 4. So I challenged myself quite a bit at that time, and I realized that some things weren't always being managed as well as I wanted them to be. And that kind of surprised me because, as Chris has mentioned, I've been an IBM manager, so I thought I was pretty good at managing, but not always, I learned. So what happened was, one of the students that was a young man that was writing a life story befriended the gentleman that he was writing the story for in a very, very special way. And as their relationship grew, they were meeting more frequently. Usually the students would meet once a week, a few times a month, depending on the health and well-being of the senior and the busy student's schedule. Often they're taking a full load, working numerous jobs, etc. So sometimes it's often the same time every week, but other times it's going to have an ebb and flow to it. So this particular pairing had some ebb and flow to it, and it was the day after that I got a call from the student, and he said he needed to see me. And when I asked him what it was about, he said it's about the Life Story project. I said, fine. Could we talk about it over the phone? Nope, we need to talk in person. So lo and behold, his senior had talked him into leaving the Living Center, which is breaking a major rule, taking him to Walmart, breaking yet another rule, helping him buy cigarettes, oh my goodness, and then rewarding him with lunch at Denny's, which in and of itself is a wonderful series of events. There are so many endearing comments to be made about that, but since I'm the guardian of the project, I have to say many rules were broken. The first thing I did, of course, before he could even get Denny's out of his mouth, was call the activity director who was in charge of the facility where his life story subject resided. And thankfully, she hadn't heard about it yet. So Mom was the word in the house, and I said, so next we need to talk to the family immediately. So I drove over and met with the activity director at that time. We called and put the family member, the appropriate family member, on the speakerphone. We explained what happened, and I was truly floored by the laughter that came from the other side of the speakerphone that I wasn't expecting, even though I kept falling all over myself, apologizing and saying it would never happen again. So I don't think it surprised anyone in that gentleman's family that he was able to get that accomplished. Lessons learned for Lynn on that one for sure. The best classroom in the world is at the feet of an elderly person. This is starting the project. To begin this project, I typically am rather casual about finding students. I will advertise in classes. There's word of mouth. They talk about it down in the Teaching and Learning Center, the TLC, down in the basement of the library. And then the students magically appear. And they find me typically and come to me and ask me, what does it take to do this? And so that is the beginning of a very informal interview that the students didn't even know they were in, typically. And in that interview, I'm really looking primarily for two things. And it might surprise you that it's not writing skills first. It's personality first. Someone that has an interest that's very sincere in getting to know another person. And second, it's their listening skills. And both of those personality traits come through in the first few minutes of meeting students.